Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Erin's Book Club. I have another book review to do today. I'm doing pretty good. It's finished this on January 3rd. That tells you how close I was to my year-end goal, but hopefully we'll do 40 books this year. Anyway, so the book review I have to do today is called Rush into Danger by Ted Barris. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this is the first book that I've read kind of this type. Like, I usually read war books where there's Sergeant Reckless, which was about the horse and that kind of thing. So this was the first one that was specifically human oriented. And I got this at the Royal Canadian Warplane Museum, just in Hamilton here near me. And I must say, I enjoyed the book. The first part of the book was a little bit slow, maybe because it was hard for me to get into that new genre and that new writing style, because the writing style wasn't necessarily an author crafting a book. It was more like a human being telling the story of something that was hard for him to live through. And not just like it's written based on the son of somebody who had gone to war, and the strength that they had to have going through all of that. And there was nothing like candy coated, and there was the cynicism of the people fighting the war. It was speaking of war, it was actually really hard to read. The atrocities committed on both sides so that we can basically live free. And reading the book and then hearing like the complaints that I hear of my coworkers and even myself about stuff like, well, my job is tough, or I don't get paid enough for my job, or I'm struggling to put food on my table. And like, yes, there's times. 1 second. Satchel, don't start stuff. Don't you give me that look, boys. Yeah, they're real good listeners. But anyway, the complaints that we get here, and then juxtaposed to that, I'm reading stories about, legs being blown off, also that we have the freedom to complain about our work, and we have the freedom to complain about how our lives are. It's it's hard. It was hard to stomach. And in the end, he makes a good point about, of all this loss and sorrow that goes on, it's too much for it just to be forgotten. And just because now our modern warfare is more technical and you don't see as gory the details because everything, of course, is censored as well, it doesn't mean that it still doesn't happen. And I don't know, it left me really unsettled, because these people who survived the war and everything else that they went through, they still came back with mental scars that they never really healed from. And it's funny that they weren't as affected by having to kill people in the line of battle as they were affected by things that were done outside of the line of battle. Like, there was an example of how when they liberated the Nazi work camps, the Nazi guards that were still there, the Allies tortured before they killed them. And it didn't torture them long, but still tortured before they killed them because of what they saw the prisoners looking like. And the character's father wasn't as upset about the torture as the fact that he felt nothing for it. He didn't feel disgust. He didn't feel empathy. He didn't feel guilt. He just was feeling rage. And that's kind of what you're conditioned to do in the training, is you're conditioned to kill and to put your feelings aside. But that there is what makes these people have such a struggle in civilian life, because you've been trained to step aside from civilian life. I don't know. It was a good book to read, but it was a hard book to read. And it took me, 3 weeks to read this? Yeah, I started December 17th and I finished January 3rd. And it's not a thick book, and a lot of the end of this book is like citations and footnotes and that kind of thing. I think that there's the page count really is only 357. So it's not a big book. It's just it's hard. It's a hard read. And I got two more books like this from the Warplane Museum, and I'm a little concerned about my ability to read them. But maybe that's the whole point. Maybe you aren't supposed to enjoy, quote unquote, reading them. Maybe you're just supposed to think about what you're reading. So I will let you know when I have another book read. Thank you guys very much. And thanks for watching.